20 miles from its current capital, Cairo, Egypt is constructing a brand new administrative capital from the ground up. The nearly $58 billion plan includes a miles-long central park, a main business district, and a massive new complex for the Egyptian Ministry of Defense called the Octagon, which will be the largest of its kind, even dwarfing the Pentagon in the United States. It's designed to house 6 million people, but can that many Egyptians actually afford it? After borrowing tens of billions of dollars, Egypt is facing an economic crisis. Here's what this new desert city reveals about Egypt's future and the debt it's accumulating to get there. The main reason for building this new capital is to shift the government's power away from Cairo, the country's current capital, where low maintenance has led to crumbling buildings, congested traffic, and densely packed residents. 95% of Egypt's population, over 100 million people, live in the very narrow Nile Valley. Within this area, there is a significant wealth gap and a history of revolts against the government. The most recent uprising was in 2011, when protests erupted in Cairo's Tahrir Square, followed by a revolution that led to the downfall of Egypt's then president and the rise of its current one, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. He is a former general who came to power in a military coup 2 years later. The project was officially announced in 2015, with objectives such as decongesting Cairo and creating new job opportunities. However, there might be another reason for this shift. Many experts suggest that moving to the desert means that, should a revolt occur, Sisi can suppress it without endangering himself, as he would be far from urban centers. Despite Sisi's insistence that the Egyptian state would not pay a penny for the new capital, reports indicate that the majority of expenditure so far has come from public funds. After a partnership with the United Arab Emirates fell through due to financial disagreements, Egypt's military stepped in to help finance the new administrative capital. Now, behind the project is a construction company, 51% owned by Egypt's military, known as the Administrative Capital for Urban Development, ACUD. Since 2013, the military has deeply penetrated the state and political system. Many analysts suggest this will allow the military to benefit financially from land sales and take a cut from contracts. After the military took over, a new plan was drawn up that separated the business and residential districts from the government and administrative areas, making the city far less pedestrian-friendly. Considering that only a quarter of Cairo's residents own cars, and these are presumably the people expected to relocate, this doesn't seem like the best design, at least from an urban development standpoint. But if the goal is defense against crowds, it makes perfect sense. In 2015, Egyptian media reported that the new capital would cost around $45 billion, but today's estimates have soared to $58 billion and are continuing to rise, along with the country's national debt. Another issue is Egypt's heavy reliance on grain imports, primarily from Ukraine and Russia. So, when the war started in 2022, Egypt was hit especially hard. The conflict in Ukraine has increased construction costs by around 10 to 15%. What's more interesting is that this isn't even Sisi's first major big-budget endeavor. In 2015, he ordered an $8.5 billion expansion of the Suez Canal. The 120-mile-long canal accounts for 12% of the world's trade. However, the revenue boom the government anticipated has not materialized as expected. In fact, they couldn't even reach the all-time high for 2023. The all-time highest revenue for the Suez Canal was approximately $9.4 billion. Compare this to the revenue in 2023, which fell short of this figure. All of this points to a central problem. Economists say Egypt can't afford this new capital, and neither can the majority of its residents. For this plan to succeed, millions of people need to relocate there, but there are multiple obstacles to that happening. Over the past few years, inflation has skyrocketed into double digits, and the Egyptian pound has depreciated by about 50%. The Egyptian parliament, along with other government buildings, is said to be moving to the new capital. However, the average employee living in Cairo can't afford an apartment in the new capital, where prices start at around $80,000, while average incomes range between $2,500 and $4,000. It's clearly a city designed for the wealthy, but are there 6 million rich people in Egypt willing to relocate there? A potential part of the solution could be encouraging more groups, such as foreign embassies, to buy into the idea. As of now, the U.S. Embassy has not made any official comments regarding relocating to Egypt's new administrative capital. It appears that many embassies, including the U.S., are waiting for the Egyptian government to complete the relocation of their own ministries and agencies before making any decisions. This cautious approach is consistent with other diplomatic missions, as they are monitoring how the government transition unfolds before committing to a move themselves. Regarding Egypt's relationship with the U.S., it is noteworthy that in 2023, the U.S. did pull approximately $45 million in military aid due to Egypt's failure to make progress on human rights reforms. However, the geopolitical situation has created complexities. Egypt's strategic role in delivering humanitarian aid to Palestine and mediating conflicts between Israel and Hamas has placed it in a unique position, which may be contributing to a more nuanced approach to these issues by the U.S. government. All the while, Egypt is facing pressure to open its borders and host refugees fleeing the war. However, this pressure comes amid its ongoing economic challenges. The country is seeking financial lifelines from the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar, as well as from the Washington, D.C.-based International Monetary Fund. Gulf states, which initially resisted providing direct cash assistance to Egypt, have toyed with the idea of offering financial aid in exchange for Egypt accepting Palestinian refugees. Even with the potential for new financial support, experts remain concerned about the health of Egypt's economy. The completion of the new capital, which is due to finish by 2030, remains shrouded in uncertainty.